YouTube. I've got a 2017 Promaster that has the bench seat in it. We wanted a swivel seat. I looked at swapping it out, just really wasn't what we wanted. So I looked online, tried to figure out a way to do it. I ran into a video of a guy that had a right-hand drive vehicle. I think it was a Boxer or Ducato that he did the swivel seat on. And there's a couple videos for like a Sprinter. So I reached out to eBay, of course. Google is great. Did a search, found there's a company called Customshop Designs out of England. They make a swivel seat for the bench seat, either left-hand drive or right-hand drive. So I emailed them a couple questions. They sent back, decided to bite the bullet and see if it'll work. So I got it all here and we're going to install it. So follow along. I'll show you how to do the installation of a left-hand drive bench seat swivel. So one of the first things you're going to do is remove the cover that's usually covering the jack toolbox right here. That's easy enough to just pop the two clips. There's a clip there, there's a clip there. You take that out. There's the little twist piece where it would normally go. Then you have two screws, Torx bit screws. One is right here and the other is right here. So once you remove those, then this just slides forward and pops out. So you can take that straight off. If you notice, there's a little cut right at the top here. So when you put it back together, that's how it'll slide in. Then on the back, you have three screws, three Torx bit screws. One there, one there, one there. Once you take those loose, this cover will drop down. As you can see, it just pulls straight up. Nice and simple. Now you can at least get to all the connectors and everything else to see what you've got to deal with. You'll have to disconnect all the connectors to make sure that you don't have any issues with it. So, because you're going to have to take the whole seat out. Okay, so to disconnect the connectors, all you do is this little purple pin, push down and lift up at the same time. And push up on the other part of the yellow and it pops up like that. Same as over here, you've got a little purple piece that you just push down, then you got to use one finger to kind of push it up. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, of course. So I'll get all these disconnected and then we'll move on to the next step. So on the right side, you'll have three connectors. This one, and this one. And on the left hand in the middle seat, you have two connectors, the white connector and the other yellow connector. So what you have to do to get those out, I just used a screwdriver to kind of pry them out. As you can tell, I broke this one. This one still has the little tab on it. It's kind of almost impossible to get in there to get to that tab to actually get it to pop out without breaking it. So these are going to have to be loose anyway, because if you're going to rotate the seat, you got to have a way to disconnect them so that you can do that. So they probably will not be reconnected back up. Once that's done, that looks like all there is to it besides unbolting the seat itself. So that will be the next step. So next I'm going to undo this front bolt, this other front bolt. It's an 18mm socket, so we'll get those out and then it should slide right out. So now that we have the seat removed, and the best way to do that is take out the front two bolts, kind of lift it up a little bit, lean it back and slide it forward so that you kind of get around these grooves. And the seat will slide forward, pick it up, and just drop it back behind you. That's the best way. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these two studs, these two mounting bolts, and this plate, so that my template will fit down on it. So it looks like it's a 10mm here and here. This, I have a T50 Torx bit. Seems like it works to loosen it. Might be a T55, I'm not 100% sure. But like I said, my T50 seems to work. So I'll take those out and then we'll get ready for the template. So the template is in place. There's 2 round holes at the front, 2 oblong holes in the back. Their picture shows that that little piece over there is on this side. But from looking at the swivel itself, looks like it needs to be on that side. So just make sure just the regular round holes are up front. I just used kind of bolts to kind of hold it. And then what I did is I took a Sharpie, went all the way around the edge so that I know what I got to cut out. So now we'll cut all the plastic. One of the things with cutting the plastic, before I do it, I'm going to make sure there's no wires underneath there where I'm trying to cut. I saw in the one video that there's a bunch of wires on the other side, so I want to make sure that I don't cut into any wires and clean it all up good. So here it is with the template cut out. I'm going to have to remove these 2 bolts. Should be 10 millimeters. That just kind of holds the jack in place. I'll take this little pop clip out that kind of holds the thing down. As you can see, be very careful right here and right here, because you do have the wires that are kind of coming across. You don't want to slice into those or anything else, because all the other places it seems like they've got a bunch of foam padding, so you've got a little bit of room, but right where the wires are, there's no foam padding. So you want to make sure that you've got, you're not going to nick your wires or cause any issues. So next will be trying to fit the base. Okay, so now that I've got that all cut, I removed the little piece here, this piece here. One of the things they don't tell you is that you also have to cut this back here. It sits too proud, so it causes issues. So I just basically trimmed it back with a set of wire cutters, cut a little piece at a time, and then cut it all the way back and got it trimmed back far enough. I'm bringing my wires out the side. I'll make a little notch here to kind of keep them off, same as on the other side. I kind of test fit it. It's got a little rock to it, but according to the instructions on some models, you have to take these 2 washers and put them here, so that this way it kind of raises it up a little bit on the front side. So that's what we're going to do, and see if that kind of clears the cable to make sure that we're not rubbing on our cables all the time. So next up, try to mount it. So to mount it, what they recommend is you loosen all these up, take the little safety pin out, turn these knobs 90 degrees to disconnect them, lock them up, and then spin the top piece just a little bit. That allows you access to the bolt holes here, 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 and I'll get the other one once I get these tightened up or kind of set in place. I don't want to tighten them up until I get the last one in. We'll go from there. Okay, so this is the unit mounted. Basically the front bolts are 19 millimeters. The back bolts that you took out earlier, you saved the 2 from the front seat, you use them in the back. They're 18 millimeter sockets. So other than that, it went together pretty smoothly. So now I'll put the seat on. So here's the seat all installed. As you can see, got the back bolts in. Everything looks pretty good. The wires are hanging out. Like I said, you have to disconnect those to enable to swivel the seat anyway. What I'm going to look and see is if there's enough. Looks like there might be enough wire to actually keep it connected when you try to swivel. So we'll see how that goes. To basically disconnect it, or to swivel it, it's going to be pick these little safety pins, kind of go in a hole right here. Once you've got these locked in place, there's a little hole that you slide these pins into, and when you're done, you just pull the pins up, rotate these so that they stand up. And then you got this one. And then once you're done, you can basically rotate it. It takes a little bit to kind of get used to it, and I'm sure I'll get used to it after a while. Then you find one of the holes here and kind of lock it back in place. Have to find a hole. But basically what you're going to try to do is line this pin up with one of these holes, which should be right here. And then once you find it, you just set it in and then twist it, and then it kind of locks the seat in place. It won't move. But now I've got a swivel seat. Got it all installed. Units works pretty well. I did cut the cable ties for the wires. You do have enough room to leave everything connected and swivel the seat. The only thing that you got to do is make sure that you keep an eye on the cables to make sure you don't actually bind one up and rip it. The other thing that I did notice is that the covers will not go back on, only because you've got a cable kind of hanging out and you need to be able to access those. And the back one, you need to kind of be able to access the handles. You can do it all from the front. It's a little bit easier to kind of do it from the back though. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to look for some clamps, tube clamps, see if I can epoxy those onto the cover, and basically make it so that I can just have that cover pop on and off. Overall, I like the unit. It works very well for what we want. It's going to be swiveled pretty consistently, and I'll get used to how to make that swivel work really well. Locking all 4 or all 5 in all the time. I may only end up locking 4 in. The one on the side, I'm not really sure what the purpose is. So for the $600 to get it here, yeah, it's sticker shock. 200 of that though was shipping it from England to the United States, because it is pretty heavy. I think it was worth it because then I don't have to mess with trying to find a donor seat, buy a swivel for a single seat, and do all that hassle. Also mess with the resistor. If there's any questions, leave them in the comments. As I go through this Promaster, conversion, and later on, I'm sure I'll give any kind of, if I have any hiccups or anything else. So have a good one. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.